It is Saturday, September 10th, 9 a.m. and we are at the top of the Vilibit National Park, and we got here from the coast yesterday. It was a tough hike up, and we stayed the night at a house with bunk beds and a kitchen and water, so we had to fill out the water. And today we going along the Dinarica trail. Okay, here is the view. Here we go. We started on a trail. It's a road so far. This is the views of the valleys and the hills and mountains. Yep, here it is a whole view with a hut behind us. We're going down to the next hut. Chapel. This is a demonstration of the layers, how the mountains are made here. So let's see. Is it? So we have some layers underneath. So let me get a better view. and see on top the tiny mountains. That's how deep they figured out the composition. And this is the mountains they molded. I wonder, where are we? Here's again another. And next to the demonstration wall of rock layers, there is information explaining the times and periods for the rocks that formed. Just roughly 5-7 minutes into our walk, the view changed. Here is what we have. There are some pointers. Now we have to figure out which trail we want to take. Actually, we know which trail we want to take. Premužička Strava, but we need to figure out which way it goes. So there is some more information panels, as it is, as I said, Valley Beat National Park. So they make it about educating people. And some information of all the times. Another waste disposal in a park. And let's see another set of pointers. And we're taking this one. Premužičeva Straza. In 15 minutes we should reach it, the trailhead. Interesting that they post the distances actually in hours and minutes. There is a bathroom. So if you are tired and going slower, your time won't work. But it is hard to figure out how to measure the distance in the mountains, as sometimes you hit the elevations. And here again the view, and far on the rock outcrop over there is a hut we stayed. So let's see. We reach an intersection. Here is the information, and we are now on this track. 5 hours, they say, until next hut. Some information about flora, fauna, and a little bit about the trail. Okay. The path is rocky. It's a slow climb. Let's see what we can find on the top. Okay, the hill turned into a forest, and it filled of huge boulders. And look at these ridges. So the mountains around here are all were once the bottom of an ancient sea, and they are made of depositionary rocks, which means tiny sea organisms lived and died and were pressed into a rock. So this is the weakest type of rock. So you can see the elements like water, sun and rain and wind. They tear the rocks little by little. Look at this pattern of created ridges. And this pattern, right, the weakest rock goes first, creating tiny holes, which actually, especially when they're in the ground, they collect water, and while collecting water they get bigger and deeper into the ground. So these mountains are prone to many sinkholes. So technically there is no rivers, as whatever water falls as a precipitation, it goes down into the earth through the rocks, into the holes, and collects there in a pools, sinkholes, right? So there is no running rivers, but the sinkholes full of water. Some of the sinkholes is why people come here to actually hike and go down it. There is one sinkhole that is very famous, and you need a permit to get to it. Right, so maybe we will see a sinkhole on the way. And we continue through the forest. Lovely, lovely walk. The weather is not as hot as it was yesterday on the coast. We were sweating so much and drinking so much water. I was afraid we would be without any water, which is dangerous. Yeah, but today is really cool and misty. The ground is wet, but there is no rivers or streams crossing our path. Here we coming out of the forest, and look at this rock formation that were once at the bottom of the sea. They were pushed by the mantle plates underneath, so high up. But as you can see how cracked they are. Little by little they will disintegrate. It will take long time, but eventually they will disappear. As it is the weakest rock. It wasn't metamorphosed with heat and pressure inside the earth into much stronger rocks like granite. Is very strong rock. It will probably live forever. Continents we live on are made of granite. Look at this view we got. So let's take a look again at the rocks, and we can see the mountains that are made out of these rocks, and now covered with forest, as this rocks contains good nutrients to grow on. Okay, let's continue. See, I'm going along the cliff here. The trail is wide and dry because when wet, the rocks tend to be very slippery. Look how tiny they are here already, and how big boulders we have over here. I love this pattern of what could make such probably ripples from the waves. When you at the beach, sometimes you can look at the sand and see how rippled it is. So it's probably how it was made. These ripples. This view is beautiful. Okay. It is 10 a.m. still, and I'm walking on a cliff edges. Look at this, how sheer the cliff is. And down below is forest, further more mountains. Okay, let's catch up. Look at the cave. There are plenty of caves in a material like that. Here's another nice point. It carries through the trees over there on the next section.